Hey there, guys. Welcome to the Holy Shed, situated outside, I'm very pleased to say, in beautiful evening sunshine. Who doesn't love sunshine, eh? Warms the heart. And I don't know about you, I hope you've had a great week. We've had a wonderful time. We had our daughter Lizzie and our granddog Kevin here to stay for the week. Kevin, a little beautiful brown dog, I've shown you him before. He brings his own brand of chaos and a heck of a lot of fun. And Lizzie took us out to her favourite spot on Ham Hill here in Somerset, to an magnificent meadow full of wildflowers, where we were surrounded by the songs of skylarks as they rose up into the clear blue sky. A lot easier to hear than to see, I can tell you. Just magnificent. I also actually caught sight of a whitethroat, beautiful little bird with a heavenly song. I was following it along the hedgerow trying to get a decent photograph of it, but drinking in the sound all along the way. And so, along with all of this, nightly Barbies just about, I can only say it don't get much better than this. Anyway, here we are in the shed, continuing with our theme of reinventing God and other modest proposals, which I'm loving thinking about again. So last time in the shed, I talked about the coronation of King Charles, and in particular, the continuing inclusion in the coronation service of the monarch's pledge to maintain Reformed Protestant religion in the United Kingdom. Without, I'm sad to say, the addendum, other forms of religion are also available. I mean, what in the name of heaven has this pledge got to do with the world we now live in? A 17th century vow to maintain Protestant religion and a Protestant succession to the throne. Oh, plus a promise, and I quote, to preserve inviolably the doctrine, worship, discipline, and government of the Church of England. Now, I know some will say it's only tradition, Dave. And in fairness, I'm pretty sure King Charles had his metaphorical fingers crossed as he was saying the words. I hope so anyway. But just what the actual were we doing, including such a flagrant statement of sectarianism in a multicultural, multi-religious society, where, by the way, average Church of England attendance is now less than 1% of the population? I mean, what the actual frick? However, the serious question behind all of this is, what sort of God do we believe in? Is there a Protestant God, a Catholic God? Is there even a Christian God? Or do we believe in the God of all people, all faiths, all creation? I often say that we need a new spiritual reformation if we're going to successfully tackle the challenges of the 21st century. And at the heart of that reformation, I believe, is a vision of a God which transcends all sectarian and religious categories, transcends any sort of divide between the religious and the secular, transcends the interests of humans over the rest of creation, transcends everything apart from the fact that we are all earthlings. None of which, by the way, is to say that religions are necessarily bad things, that, they should cease to exist or be reduced to some wishy-washy lowest common denominator. No, no way at all. But perspective, guys, God has to be greater than all, beyond all, or else it isn't God or true religion that we're dealing with. It's idolatry. My book, The Bad Christian's Manifesto, is all about reinventing God, or at least reinventing our notions and images of God. Now, reinventing may sound a bit of a weird term to use. Itself could sound like a prelude to idolatry. But in the end, none of us knows God in God's essence. Of necessity, we live with images and notions drawn from human language and human experience. Father, mother, shepherd, friend, lover, whatever. Symbols, C.S. Lewis says, we know, which cannot be the thing thou art. None of these things, none of our words, none of our concepts, none of our systematic theology, none of our religion, none of it goes anywhere near to being a representation of the thing that God is. God transcends all of that stuff. As I've already pointed out, the very word theology or theology conveys within itself a mediation, a sense of mediation between, on the one hand, the mystery, which is God, theo, and on the other hand, feeble human attempts to make sense of that mystery, which is the realm of logos, theology. It's a discipline of synthesis between divinity and human understanding. So, yes, it's a mediating process which can never, must never be finally resolved. Paul says, for now we know in part, then we shall know even as we are known. But for now, we know in part. The grave mistake of religious fundamentalism of whatever stripe is the propensity to resolve the mystery, to resolve the paradox, to bring the quest to a close, to in effect say, this is it, this is God, we've arrived, this is the truth. Or as the bumper sticker in America likes to put it, God said it, I believe it, that settles it. I mean, it should add bonkers. But there you go. But this isn't at all an exclusively religious thing that we're talking about. All kinds of fundamentalisms or dogmatic ideological mentalities exist in the world, each making claim to the kind of absoluteness or infallibility to which the Protestant principle we talked about last week applies, which really dictates that all absolute claims to truth should be interrogated and protested, especially when they evoke divine mandate. But the most lethal absolutism is when religion and politics combine, when you've got, religious fundamentalism and political ideology merging together in one package, that is lethal. I mean, we see it in totalitarian countries like Iran or Afghanistan, but it's also powerfully present in American politics. I mean, it's elsewhere too, but we can see it right now in American politics. It's always been there, but now it's there much more raucously in the rhetoric of would-be Republican presidential candidates Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump. Trump, of course, has already served. Who could forget it? He's already served the term in office as president, courtesy of a white evangelical vote, which I'm sure puzzles you as it does me. I mean, how could a man who spoke of his entitlement to grab a woman's genitals, who has racist and homophobic attitudes, the first former president to be found guilty of sexually abusing and defaming a woman, a man who appears in so many ways godless, how can evangelical Christians, Bible-believing Christians, vote for such a man and give him such thoroughgoing support? Well, if you're interested in pursuing the question from the perspective of a non-Trump supporting white evangelical, there's a book called I Believe by John Fay, F-E-A that is, who is a professor of American history and a member of a megachurch in America. So he's a thoroughgoing, part of the white evangelical scene, but he explores what he calls in the subtitle the evangelical road to Donald Trump, and he explores it very, very thoroughly. I mean, I'll give you a heads up on his argument. Basically, he says that he wasn't surprised that this happened, that evangelicals voted for Trump. And he traces the road to Donald Trump with evangelicals right back to the Pilgrim Fathers. He argues that the evangelical embrace of Trump is actually the logical outcome of a long-standing evangelical approach to public life defined by the politics of fear, the pursuit of worldly power, and a nostalgic longing for an American past. So those are the things that he says. I mean, it's a logical outcome, because there is, let me repeat it, this long-standing evangelical approach to public life, which is defined by the politics of fear, by the pursuit of worldly power, and by a nostalgic longing for an American past. There is now, of course, another contender for the Bible-believing vote, the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who appears determined to restore true Christian values to Florida and beyond, even if it means driving out of Florida one of the state's greatest financial generators, Disney, because Disney, he thinks, must now be seen as a prime purveyor of wokeness. Now, as John Fay writes in his book, right back through the history of America, evangelical Christians have believed that they must dictate public policy, essentially compelling society to conform to their particular agenda, which is all too often confused with what they imagine made America great, And so Donald Trump's Make America Great Again, his great slogan, really means Make America Christian Again. That's how white evangelical Christians who voted for Trump are hearing it. It's Make America Christian Again, because the greatness and the Christianity go together. And DeSantis is playing that same old tune, only louder, he hopes anyway. Of course, the key word in the slogan is actually again, because Make America Great Again, because the whole thing is based on nostalgia for a past when so-called Christian values prevailed, or so they thought. Or rather, it was a time when a certain sense of order prevailed, which was labelled Christian, an order which dictated that everyone knew their place and stayed in it. Family life had to operate within rigid sort of roles by each party, but everyone had to know their place. Women, children, blacks and indigenous Americans. It's a time they're looking back to when homosexuality was condemned out of hand, and people would be persecuted and imprisoned if they were caught in homosexual acts. It's a time when abortion was never spoken of, even though it most certainly did happen, when the death penalty was unquestioned, and folk could have as many guns as they chose. And by the way, recent research shows that white evangelical Protestants are not only more likely to possess guns, they're also less likely to support gun control. Now, there's a thought. Both Trump and DeSantis seem to believe that woke is the new evangelical bogeyman that they can invoke to get a response back from that constituency, because woke folk, if you like, support the human rights of LGBT plus people. They're pro-choice, they're pro-Me Too, pro-Black Lives Matter, pro-First Nation rights, etc., etc., etc. All of these things are seen to be a threat to what are deemed to be Christian values, and hence the politics of fear are invoked by the likes of Trump and DeSantis. DeSantis is actually making anti-woke his evangelical platform pleaser. And there's loads and loads of clips of him speaking about it on YouTube if you're daft enough to want to go and take a look. And, I think it seems to me that he's trying very hard to out anti-woke Donald Trump, because this, as I say, has become the new watchword, the new kind of bogeyman that you can just play that card and pretty certainly get a vote from a large section of the white evangelical constituency. And DeSantis sounds quite Churchillian in the way he speaks about it. He said, we will fight the woke in the legislature. We will fight the woke in education. We will fight the woke in the businesses. We will never, ever surrender to the woke mob. But perhaps, hopefully from my perspective, this play of the woke bogeyman will turn out to be, a self-destructive move. A recent poll in the United States said that 68% of Americans think that anti-woke politicians are obsessing over the wrong things. And another poll said that most Americans actually see the word woke as a positive. So, it's not a static situation. So let me say a bit about woke. I mean, I've talked about it before in the shed, and I no doubt will again. But I'll preface it by recalling again the Protestant principle that I mentioned earlier and talked about last week, the need to interrogate and protest any claim to absolute truth, because wokeness can be, already is in some instances, its own form of fundamentalism. And myself, I'm not interested in fighting one fundamentalism with another fundamentalism. For me, the meaning of woke actually is quite simple. It's about kindness. It's about justice and friendship. Above all else, it's about waking up to the prejudices and injustices of society, or of sections of society. It's about waking up to and being woke up about my own prejudices and preconceptions rather, my own privileges, my hidden sense of privilege that even I am so often not aware of. Woke is about everything that Jesus implied in the Golden Rule. It's about treating others as we wish to be treated. Finally, I think it's about the kind of God we believe in. Now, I'm not saying God is woke. I'm not saying God is woke or unwoke, right wing or a lefty. I'm saying God is the ground of compassion. It's the ground out of which compassion emerges. God is the ground of compassion, of justice and inclusion. And anybody, left, right, centre, woke or unwoke, evangelical, progressive, Catholic, Protestant, Christian, Muslim, humanist, whatever, anyone who fails to strive toward compassion, justice and inclusion in the world has absolutely lost touch with who or what God truly is, or what it means to be human, I reckon. One of the groups of people who are often overlooked or given short shrift in the culture wars is people with disabilities. I witnessed disability prejudice long ago when I was a young boy through the eyes of my dad, who was himself disabled from a very early time in his life. The society that he lived in was sound asleep, deeply unwoke to who he was and what he struggled with on a day-to-day basis. And the older I get, the more I admire my dad's fortitude in transcending people's expectations, transcending a society stoically set on making life hard for him. I wish I could acknowledge that. I wish I could acknowledge I wish I'd throw my arms around him and acknowledge my admiration for my dad now in a way that I failed to at the time. I mean, I was 17 when he died. I was full of all the stuff that seemed important to me in life. And now I just wish I could go back there. That's life, isn't it? Society has changed, and life is certainly much better now for disabled people than it was for my dad. But when, I see, all these hire bikes, when people have finished with them, carelessly strewn across the pavement, or cars inconsiderately parked for wheelchair users and sight impaired people, or when I hear from disabled friends about the structural problems in society that they face day by day, I feel what cannot be more than a tiny twinge of their pain. We're a long way off. And I just mention that one because, as I say, I think the whole issue of living with disability is one of those woke issues that often is overlooked. There are culture wars being waged in our world, and there's no doubt I can tell you where I stand when those lines are drawn. But I'm absolutely not interested in any more sectarian loyalties, being on this side or that. I don't want to be a paid up member. I'm just trying to be true to who I am, true to my convictions, trying my best to be committed to the daily practices of being kind, striving for justice, or just asking, how would I feel? Or standing up for what I believe. There's more to say about this, but I think that will do for now. Just remember this, guys. No pun intended here, by the way. Just remember this. Love trumps everything. Love always trumps everything. And so that can be the new bumper sticker, I reckon. But probably not, because it'll get misattributed. Anyway, here is a prayer to finish with today. As I was thinking about these things earlier. Call me an optimist, but I believe in a great awakening. Even when snoring fills my ears, I believe it. I do not doubt that goodness will win out, kindness leave hatred and indifference exhausted, because in the end, words of love are written in the human heart and will become clear and liberating. I believe in a world where each and every person is precious, where freedom to be outstrips the right to tell others how to be, where people of different faiths may believe and practice what they find to be important without someone telling them to go to hell. I believe the only law that really counts is the obligation to respect others, when what they hold in their hearts and rehearse in their lives causes no harm but makes the world more beautiful. I believe in a God who refuses finally to be named, yet allows us to name mystery in 1,000 ways, each a precious facet of a jewel too magnificent to be beheld apart from through the eyes of love. Woke me from my slumber, I pray. Fill my vision with clarity, my heart with magnanimity, my mind with single-minded determination to be as you are. Amen. Okay, well, time just about for a toast, I think. So please pour yourself a little drop of something or grab it to hand and join me in a toast. Very simply, a toast to being awake. A toast to being awake in life. Awake to the wonder of life all around. Awake to other people and what they're going through. Awake to ourselves. Awake to that mysterious presence that we name God, who is the breath of life that recreates and sustains us every day. Dear friends, to life, L'chaim. There you go then. I don't think there's a lot to say, really. I mean, if you like what I'm saying and you want to support me, you can buy me a coffee or a whiskey or whatever. You just need to follow this link, which is on the screen now. It's always at the top of the posts on the Holy Shed Facebook page as well. And it's very simple to do. And we are deeply grateful for everyone who contributes in that way or supports us in other ways too. I love getting, messages of encouragement. That's like nourishment to my soul. So keep that coming too. And there we go. Just to say that on Wednesday at 12:30, midday, 12:30, early midday, I'm leading a soul space with the St. Ethelburgers people. And you can go to the website of St. Ethelburgers, Centre for Reconciliation and Peace, and you'll find out how to join up then. I will probably also put the link up on Wednesday morning, but I'd love you to join us, and it's going to be something that is very close to the heart of what St Athelburgers is about this time. So if you can join us for about an hour on 12:30 Wednesday, that would be great. So hey, have a good one. Be kind to this lovely world that we're a part of. Live lightly upon the earth. Be kind to people around you. Be kind to yourself, because that's the fount out of which our kindness flows to other people too. Have a great week. Stay human. I'll see you soon. By the way, I'm just going to leave you with a little bit of film footage that I did on my phone. It's very imperfect, of the meadow where the skylarks were. You can see that I'm trying to find them in the sky. You won't see them, but you will hear them. And so take it as a little mindful moment before you leave. Thanks so much. See you soon.